Everyone dreams of living an uncommon life, and the best asset you have to achieve your dreams is you. Welcome to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living uncommonly. We're also going to give you some tools and strategies for building wealth and for pursuing an uncommon path that is uniquely right for you.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast, where I am your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I am Aaron Kramer.
Welcome to the show, buddy.
This is fun.
Yep. All right. So this is a fun one that I wanted to talk about. Here's why. Because this is where I'm at. Okay.
All right.
All right. So
therapy session.
It's kind of, yes. And it's a little bit edifying, but it's also like, let's just be honest. Here we go. And I'm going to probably title this, The Gift is in the Grind.
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I mean by that. As business owners, you just got to grind.
Yeah.
And there is such a gift in going to empty the tank and like looking at your bank account and seeing like there's not a lot in there.
Oh yeah.
Right. And that gift is something that it sucks to be in.
Oh, 100%.
But two, there's something that is created when you see that.
Yes.
You've seen it from the bottom.
Yes.
And you can raise it out of the ashes to this phoenix. And then I'm thinking about like the next generation, the second generation kind of person. They lose that gift of the grind.
How do you get that?
Right.
Give them that.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
We can talk through that. Maybe that's even a level I wasn't even thinking about. But to me, I think there's such a gift in grinding it out and seeing something from creation that you will be able to pour into. And you got to see the ebbs and the flows,
yes,
the ups and the downs, the tears and the hoorays, all of that stuff. There is such a gift in just grinding it out and starting from scratch. Something that if a next generation or your children buy your business, they never have that gift.
Yep.
And I think that's character building, the grind.
Yes.
It's character building. It also has shaped how I lead people, how I lead the company, all of that.
How you treat people. How you talk to people.
100%.
Yeah.
So to me, there's a gift in the grind, and that's what I mean by the grind. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Oh my gosh. I love this subject. I can go into this subject all day. Because even like as a business owner, because we all like I own my own. Like you're the boss, but like I own my own book.
Yes.
I brought my own book over.
Yep.
When I joined up, and the grind is so hard because even as a husband and a dad, a father, I didn't make a lot of money for a long time. Mm-hmm. You have to grind it and you have to see it. And my wife would ask, like, "Are you paying the family this month?" And it's like, well, no, because I did this event. Mm-hmm. And so now we're living off of a teacher's salary for a month or 2 or 3 or 6,
Oh, yeah.
So you're sitting there thinking, oh, this is so hard. And you're constantly hounding your skills because you got to build and you got to bring in faster. It's hard. It tests you because you're kind of like, oh my gosh, am I good enough for this? Am I?
Yeah.
Well, you got to keep building. But the thing is every time a client would say yes, like I'll be a client. I know clients probably don't see it, but you go afterwards, you probably start crying a little bit.
Yeah, right.
But you appreciate it so much. And because in our industry, at least, like in every industry, but like the amount of trust someone puts into you.
When they write the biggest check they've ever written, and that's all the life savings they have.
Yeah.
And they're giving it to you.
Yeah. It puts you to tears.
For sure.
But like, that's the whole part of the grind is like learning to appreciate that.
Right.
Learning to know the amount of trust someone is putting in you to do that. Like it's giving me goosebumps right now.
Right. Right.
It's amazing. But the respect I think that grind gives you the respect that like what you're signing yourself up to and the responsibility you're signing yourself up for through that. And that's where I'm like, oh, it's so great. But the grind can teach you so many other I think about college wrestling. I wasn't a great college wrestler. I made varsity. That was the epitome of my success.
Which is pretty good.
Which is, it was good. Like I was
better than I did.
Well, it was on a good college team. We brought home trophies, so like it was that. It wasn't like we were like bad. So we were a good college team. But I can say making it through the professional grind, like wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for college wrestling's grind. That grind made this seem easy. Yeah. The only thing that was different to make this a lot harder was the fact that I had a family depending on me. But so I think learning to recognize grinds in all aspects of your lives to then help know that you've been prepared for this. Now, I know we don't talk about this a ton, but like it's definitely, we never shy away from it. I'm a big believer that we're all warriors, right? Like, and I'm a big believer that like God preps us to be warriors.
Right.
And so these grinds are like a workout. It's making you stronger. It's making
character testing for sure.
Yeah, character testing, character building.
Right.
Test to see who you are and to make sure you can handle what's the forth to come.
Yep.
You know?
Right.
So,
and it's for you to be able to be grateful for when it's actually something different, and it's easy to go back. So let's be fully honest here. There's a point here where Uncommon Wealth was flourishing, right?
Yeah.
And then we just made a change, and now I'm going back to the grind. Does that make sense? And so this is getting me excited because sometimes complacency is like your worst nightmare. You know, the good old Vince Lombardi, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. And sometimes complacency can do that. And so I get an opportunity to go back to the grind in a way of like, now we got to go and make this thing something different than what it was. It's just going to be different. So I would say what a joy it is to be able to be in the grind, now coming back to the grind a second time. Sounds really dumb. But so I'll quickly edify my family. We do hikes in mountains, and we have this, my wife loves national parks. And so we'll find them, and then we have there's books out there that'll tell you and show you like the best hikes and this, that, and the other. Yeah. And they categorize these hikes as like moderate, strenuous, and then like easy, whatever. Yeah. So like there's three
different levels.
Yeah. I always go to the strenuous.
That's because that's you.
Yeah, that's me. And I'm going to bring my whole family. So there was
your
one
family has to just
I know.
Dad,
they love me.
Come on.
They love me. So this is a true story. I brought my parents. They're 70 at the time. We went to the Tetons, and there was the amphitheater lakes that are like, this is a strenuous hike. And I told a couple people beforehand, hey, I'm taking my family of 5 and my parents to Amphitheater Lake. And a lot of people will know this hike because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's also strenuous, Yeah. And they're like, no, you won't. And I'm like, oh, we will. Oh, we will.
The fact that you just told Philip, no, you won't. Now it's like, now
that's all you need. Yeah. That's all you need. I'm on. Anyway, so that was a stupid side story, but back to the journey. So my wife and I and the kids, now this is a different national park. I believe it was Estes Park, or the one in Colorado. And we're going up this like trail, and it's a strenuous one because that's how I pick them out. Yeah. And I'm walking up, and I'm like, I can't wait to get to the top. I can't wait to get to the top.
Yeah.
You know how I am. And then all of a sudden I had this, it was probably a Holy Spirit moment, very convicting, of like, Philip, stop. Like, take a look around.
Yes.
The joy is in the journey.
Yes.
Like, look around. Like, this is beautiful. Like, oh my goodness, there's a moose over there. A moose and his family. Like, so like to be able to soak it in of like, maybe this is the best part of this, is the journey up this mountain.
So
Aaron, awesome. I'm telling you, brother, we got to the top and it was like, well, this wasn't that cool. Yeah. So if I would have kept my attitude of like, well, as soon as we get to the top, like that's the only thing that's going to be successful, I would have been so disappointed. So disappointed.
Yeah.
But what happened was the exact opposite. I ended up enjoying the journey up, and the top of it wasn't as exciting as I thought.
Oh my gosh.
And then we came back down, and I just remember being so joyful of like, wow, I'm here with my family, little kids, we're going through this. It's not an easy hike. And so that's what I would say to myself right now. Like, Philip, the joy is in the journey. It's not about the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
It's about how can we serve one client today, give them the best plan, give them the most clarity, the most vision that they've ever had, and get them excited about what's going to be in store for them tomorrow.
That's so awesome. I love the fact that you use this story in this analogy, because now I'm going to build off of it. I got a book referred to me a while back, and I find it to be so amazing. Chop wood, carry water.
Oh yes, you told me about this. I have not read it yet.
Yes, so they use a story in there about ice climbers, mountains.
Okay, I'm in.
And
I'm in.
He says, ice climbers, they never look at the top of the mountain. They can't. If you constantly look at the top of the mountain, you're going to die.
Right.
They're always they're focusing on their next step.
Yeah. Right.
To get to and then eventually, if you just keep focusing on what you got to do next, you get to the top.
Yeah. Right.
But too many people, and I was one of them. Right. I had to overcome this. You you always just think about what it's going to be like at the top.
Absolutely.
What it's going to be like at the top.
That's me, buddy.
And even when we got in the industry, I was like, oh, when I'm successful, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
You're always focusing on what it's going to be like at the end. And then through the grind, you learn how to be like all these things and appreciative. Well, you start just appreciating every one single client. And the next thing you're not noticing. And the next thing you look back, you're like,
wow.
Oh, hey, we did it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And that's how they get people into this industry, by the way. That's how I got into the industry.
Yeah.
Some guy from Principal took my wife and I out, and he said, exact words, picture everything you ever wanted, like financially.
Yeah.
You can obtain that within 12 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now looking back at that, like such a lie.
BS.
Not saying that you couldn't, but like you're not going to be recommending the best things for people.
No.
I'll just tell you that right now.
Because we've talked about this before in past podcasts. Every guy that I've ever talked to that's super successful in this industry, their number one reason for doing this industry is not money.
Right. It's a very thankless job.
Yeah.
Right.
I know we can get rewarded in the end, but every person that I've ever respected in this industry that's been successful, been in it for a long time, they always sit there and say, like, you are severely underpaid for the first half of your career.
Yeah.
But it's hard to build.
Yes.
Was it like a 97% or 95% fail rate?
Exactly.
But so if you come into this thing, so you got told that dream. I got told that dream.
Uh-huh. It's so
I got told 5 years. 5 years you'd be making six figures. That has not happened. So
that's good. So this is what I would say. I think the joy is in the journey. There is something about just saying, like, I'm going to do this like I need to breathe. Like, I'm going to have success just like I need the next breath.
Yeah.
And that whole band, I love them. It's called Need to Breathe. That's how their band started. Is like, there's a parable that some guy hires a coach and to be like a football player or some amazing athlete. And so the coach says, all right, meet me at the beach tomorrow. Our training starts.
Yeah, I love this.
So he goes out. The athlete goes out and kind of meets the coaches on the beach, and coach is like, all right, let's go in the water. And they go in the water, and the coach dunks this guy and just holds him under.
Yeah.
Holds him under. And the guy starts thrashing. And then all of a sudden the athlete goes berserk and because he needs a breath, right?
Yeah.
And he comes out, and he is mad. And the coach is like, I need you to fight like that. I need you to fight like you need to breathe in our training, which I love. So anyway, so there is some sentimental things there, but I would say that being willing to do whatever it takes, no matter what. And so something about you to edify you, like when we first met, you told me a story about how you blew out your pec, and then you were back in the weight room and you had 25-pound dumbbell.
Yeah.
And for you, it was probably like a toothpick for me. But so the fact that you had humility enough to be like, hey, I'm back in the gym and I'm doing the hard things to get me back was powerful. But then you also told me a story of you're in the industry and you knew that you wanted it so bad that you got a second job to make sure that you could cover and provide for your family. And that was when I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy that I want, because he knows how to get what he wants and he will do whatever it takes to get there, even if it's thinking outside the box to help people. So that's why you're so amazing at your job.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that's what I think the gift of the grind is. It's because when you finally did find Uncommon Wealth, and it's been a perfect brand for you, it's been like this perfect synergy of now you can actually start focusing on people, and you can get the income and provide for your family.
Oh my gosh, it was such a I know we've talked. I don't know how much we've gone into this on the podcast, but we went out for breakfast. And I remember this it was yesterday. But we both were there. I was just there seeking advice.
Yeah,
and you were there to give advice.
Yep.
I mean, here I am. You're making way better living than I am. I'm I'm buying you breakfast. I bought you breakfast. It's give me advice.
Yeah.
And because you were the only one in town that really got what I was trying to do. Other people kind of got it. Other mentor advisors got it, but they didn't quite get it because it was very different. If you're a client, Mm-hmm. So, but anyways, it was. I remember it came to an end. Long story short, it came to an end of you should just join up, and I was like, what? And then there's some other things said, but one of the things that was said was on one condition. You can only have one job.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, well, because this is going to be your payout. And I was like, Well,
yeah. I remember that conversation. You said, hey, if you could just pay me this, I could quit my, I wouldn't have to ever provide a different way. And so I was like, I'm not going to do that. And you said, I know it's a lot of money. And I was like, no, we're going to give you more money than that. And I remember you were like, I don't even know what to do right now. But that to me is a time where you could see somebody's potential, and I was willing to pay whatever it took to get you over Uncommon. And so
it was life-giving to me. And that's for business owners out there. I don't know. I've talked to a lot of friends of this, and I know me and Philip have talked about this. When you bring people on, it's hard because I've seen people get brought on and they're just given a salary.
Yes.
I brought over a book. Philip makes money off of me, and I'm so happy he does. I can't be more stoked for it. But I'm I had to go through that grind, and it made me appreciate to the point where it puts me and my wife in tears for what he gave to us. So when he lets me help out with a client, I don't need more money. I don't need it. I'm just happy to help.
Right.
And if he does, and if he gets a bigger split than I do, I don't even care.
Right.
Because it's I know what that means. I know what it took to get a client because I went through that grind.
Right.
And it feels like other people that get into our industry, and I think this is any industry, and then you're just given it, it's not appreciated.
Right. So I really wanted to just edify the listeners out there that have a business that started in the grind, that knows how it feels, that scary feeling, or that feeling that you're going to get tears when somebody says yes, the grind.
Oh my God. And okay, so I know you've done this. This is the number one thing I love doing. And this is the number one test of doing asking business owners hey, so how is the journey?
Yeah.
And if they open up and tell you, you're like, this is my guy.
Yeah, right.
Because they know and they're willing to share it.
Right. That is something from an uncommon wealth perspective that's different, right?
Yeah.
Because usually financial advisors will sit down with a business owner, and the first thing they'll ask is how much money do you have in your wallet? They might not ask it in that way, but really what they want to know is how much money can I get a hold of?
Yeah.
That couldn't be further from what we do.
Yeah.
What we usually ask is tell us about the journey, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the grind. What have you gone through? What's keeping you up tonight? What's keeping you up in the form of business that maybe we could help solve so you can keep furthering your trajectory in your business? That's really fun.
Yeah. What'd you learn through your grind?
Oh yeah.
Because usually, that sounds like a silly question sometimes, but if you've been through the grind, it's not silly because you learn what you truly love,
and it's valuable. It's valuable.
So valuable.
So that's really fun for both of us, and I think everybody at Uncommon Wealth. But I would say the biggest thing that I'd say about this podcast is there is such a joy in the journey, but there's also a part that just you can't replicate the grind. No. You also can't replicate the good character building things that come from the grind.
Yeah.
So my last question before we end, because it's kind of getting a little long, but how do we instill the grind in our kids? So for me, I think there's many ways, but I think, you're thinking of yours, those stupid hikes, it's a big deal. And to be able to go through the whole thought process of this is too hard. We've gone on some hikes that I'm telling you, Aaron, I was having trouble.
Yeah.
And we all kind of had our own little moment where we're I don't want to do this anymore. But working through that and giving your kids opportunities to grind through things, they will be better individuals because of that than parents 100%. That try to helicopter their kids and try to do everything for them. Sometimes you got to let your kid fail.
Yes.
Sometimes you got to let them fight through adversity. And your daughter is swimming now.
Yeah.
And so your big thing is not about winning. It's about try to set a PR for you. And now she's hitting some opposition.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity to be able to coach through of hey, this is what it means in life.
Yeah.
To not get something that you think that you should have got, and how are you going to respond? So that to me is grind. And getting gritty. But that's all I got. What do you got?
Grind's great. Yeah. How we teach our kids, I think you just gave me a lot more advice than I feel I'm going to give anybody, because I don't know. I hope I can teach my daughter to, push through when it's hard. Mm-hmm. And I always think about it because, we all went through this grind. You went through the grind. I went through the grind to build this thing, our books. And it hits me. I'm it would feel good if my daughter would want to be as passionate about this industry as I am.
Right.
And I think about it because like I remember my grandpa sitting down at the table and asking me to join the family business that him and his brothers built.
Oh, wow.
And I so nonchalantly just know.
Huh.
You know? Now I grew up, my parents didn't like make it sound like a good like place to go.
Okay.
But I feel so bad. It's one of my things because, you know, bless his heart, he's moved on.
Huh.
You know, like, but like, because he's graduated, but like,
Yeah.
I wish I would have given him more validity because
it was a big offering.
He was a big offering, and they built something really special.
Right.
So, anyways, back to our industry with my daughter. Like, I think the only thing I can come up with is if we're sticking to like our industry, the grind that we went through here in our business.
Yeah.
She will not be given anything.
Yeah. I think there's validity to that.
Hopefully, I have helped her along the way. That grind that she goes through, I've set her up to where the grind's a bit easier for her than it was for us.
Right.
But she still can come out the other side, learning the things that she needs to learn.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like learning to like face, you know, the hard times and welcome it.
Yep.
But to appreciate the things appreciate the journey.
No, man. Yeah.
Like it's not about
be joyful when it's the suckiest.
Yeah.
That's convicting.
And the people that like walk through it with you, you know, like,
oh man.
Talk about
truth.
You learn real quick who your friends are.
Oh, buddy.
And I think it's so funny. Like everybody that's gone through this grind, you'll appreciate this. There's those like little sayings out there that you've heard so many times. Like, yeah. And then when it hits you, like, oh wow, that was deep.
Yeah.
That happens during the grinds.
Yes.
Like the people closest to you, you're like,
right.
You'll know who's your closest friends on your down times. Oh yeah, everyone says that. You go through the grind, you're like, that's so deep.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot I can talk about. But I love talking about this because this is the reason why I like to compete. Because I love environments that bring out the true character in people.
Yes.
I like board games, but like to me, like competing on a field, that's why I like ultimate frisbee or flag football. Like there's times when like it is not going your way. And like, what happens then? Like some people are just pissed. Some people get inward and get frustrated themselves.
Yeah.
Some people get outwardly frustrated and start blaming other people.
Yeah.
Or blaming the refs. Like, so to me, I love the little glimpses that you get of people's true character. And to me, business owning and creating a business is one of those things.
Oh, 100%.
And so for the business owner out there that's listening to this, we hear you. We see you. And maybe the most valuable thing that comes out of your business is the character that you've built through the times that were the hardest.
100%, yeah.
So,
and you're also not alone. Like, you know that like find a network of good business owners.
Yes.
While you're doing it, if you're upcoming and you're trying to build a practice, you're still in the first 10 years, seek out other ones and use my trick. Like it's not even a trick. It's just the one thing I found. Ask your weathered business owner, how is your upcoming journey? Because usually we're not scared to share it.
No.
And it's a whoa.
Right.
You know, and it was hard
way more respect for somebody after you hear that.
Or you might hear well, you know, like what may come out is like, well, it was my parents and it was handed to me. Like, and you're like, okay,
that's fine.
That's awesome. And that's amazing because we want to do this for our children, but probably not your guy to open up to and be like, I'm going through this hard time.
Yes.
Because they're not going to counsel you and they're not going to give you the grace that you deserve.
Good, Aaron. That'll preach. All right. That's all we got. You've been listening to Uncommon Wealth Podcast. I've been your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Aaron Kramer.
Until next time, go enjoy the journey and get
Love
gritty.
The grind.
Get gritty.
That's all for this episode, brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.